No, 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 no. Did a guy come up with this story? Probably. Let's see. Stephen Brill is the CEO of NewsGuard and the author of The Death of Truth. Okay, we have to listen to another man's opinion again, where he thinks that he has the obvious answer for everything, but yet, here's the problem with this thing. The best way to regulate social media has been staring at us right in the face. Well, can we get you off it? Because then life would be better for us women. The First Amendment friendly way to clean up social media, but tech CEOs won't like it. First of all, when you guys came up with all that, you always assumed that women were going to be your sex slave in the bedroom and have no rights. So I don't even want to hear it. And we are going to have a problem because your everyday speech talking about women is hate speech. And that is the most acceptable speech that has been on all these platforms. Another acceptable speech is promoting cops killing other people when they're sitting there going, you can't promote violence and all these things. And yet, they can promote that, and then yet it is going to cause a backlash, right? So you can't have these two things going on. So they want to sit there and take their side and go, our side is sanity and everybody else is insane because it's going against white male supremacy. That is literally the basis of this whole thing. You can't use a mega sound system to hold a political rally in front of a hospital. Well, here's a wonderful thing. You don't have to read this stuff that we put out, right? You could just pass on. There's a million stories that I would love to make a million comments on, but I don't answer them all, right? And they're all horrific. And I could just choose to shut it off for the day when I don't want to deal with it. And I have, because there's just days, even like today, I was going through some stuff. I'm like, you know what? It'll catch up with them. It might be the famous last words of these people. You can't pack a theater so full of people that no one can reach the fire exits without being trampled. Doesn't that happen still all the time? Even in concerts, they still get missed. In the physical world, these kinds of noise controls and fire safety okay, that you're comparing people inside of a concert hall with no exit to people sharing their opinions, okay? And we don't agree with yours. I don't agree with any of this right now. And so you want to say that I need to agree in order for us to all get along. That is not reality. Here's the reality. We're never all going to get along. That's just it. I mean, we have that, so we know that as a truth. If we could reach people to change the world in a better way, just because you disagree with it, it's not for you to say otherwise. But you're also calling us liars on things that I've been speaking out on for decades. And the other thing is, it's just amazing that I got so attacked on these topics that it turned out to be true. True. But you just said it wasn't true. You said it's crazy talk. You said it's all these things. For over a decade, I've been talking, mostly on the cop thing. Oh my God, it's like one of my bigger topics because it was one of the things that keeps us from getting justice when we have to go to report to them. And there's major organized crime. And you see all the people who's involved with that. I mean, Jesus Christ. But it's just the truth. It's the truth. But nobody wanted to hear the truth. And then they're promoting that conduct on us all. And then they're just, throwing their egos around on top of it. But anyways, in the physical world, these kind of noises are controlled in fire safety regulations and eventually coexist with our First Amendment free speech and free assembly rights. They're accepted as common sense ways to keep us safe and preserve our sanity. I'm going to say that none of these guys have any sanity. You want to force people into mental institutions. I just read another story today. Again, it's another story I can go running off on, and I'm just like, at this one point, they're like, I have empathy for like these poor homeless people that are building homes and everything else like that. But in another sentence, they were like, but I don't feel sorry for the mistakes they made. And I'm like, that's interesting. I know damn well I didn't make any mistakes. And I know damn well that you don't know what everybody's problem is that's out there. And I ran across, when I was going through this whole thing, I ran across so many people that some people were just working and they couldn't even afford to rent. It was a whole family. They were working. The son, the father, And another one was a mentally disabled guy, which I literally could have just cried all day long over seeing this person. And I couldn't figure it out. And it could just be a thing where they didn't have any family, or their family just threw them out on the street. And they're not mentally capable of taking care of themselves. It was really effed up. It was an effed up thing. And I do not believe that they were on drugs or nothing like that. And every morning, that guy would say, hello, good morning. Oh my God, it's totally effed up. So you don't know everybody's story. You listen to the politics, and you guys want to spread around that. And you're telling us that we should only listen to authoritative figures that literally goes back to male supremacy. Like, we have to listen to only these people. And which news source are we supposed to take as a fact? I literally pull out a million news stories a day from different sites. I'll even pull up news, Fox News and all them. But their perspective changes the entire picture of the story. So all they have to do is manipulate it with their opinion, which a lot of news people have done. And it can make you think something differently about the story, which is not, such as the human trafficking ring, right? The way that they presented that for 3 decades, at least, a minimum of 3 decades, through the media, made it seem like it's totally okay, and it was to the public, to go and human traffic women and tell them not to pay them. And it was LAPD, the law enforcement, right? You're saying that's sanity, and I'm telling you that's insanity. And we got abused from that, right? So again, perspectives in the way that the news presents the stories, and we don't have to agree with it. And I'm going to have a problem with it when we get harmed from it. And so are other people that are losing family members from other things, and they're fighting these topics, right? I don't fight every topic, but I have very specific topics I touch on, right? And you guys seem to have a problem with it. Am I wrong on those topics? Hell no. I've been pretty solid on these topics. I'm still talking about these topics. And you're still going to have a problem with it, because mostly when we bring in religion, because it's a huge problem with all this, isn't it? Because we're getting raped with a religion that is not ours. I'm part of a 2% of the population in America. I don't have a voice, and you want to run it over. So that's what you're trying to argue here. I know exactly what you're trying to do. The same idea can be applied by social media. Actually, social media, even with the negativity that was going on in, I don't know, in 2014 or so, I would give my left arm to go back to that, because I felt like I advanced in knowledge from that experience. We'll put it that way, because there was a lot of people saying a lot of stuff that in a normal world where you want to mute it down, where I wouldn't have saw somebody else's perspective, even though they're angry, they're going on, they got my attention. Okay, they got my attention, so I had to look at a topic. It cannot happen with this muting thing, and we all have to be these little Puritan saint things. You don't like our language. Well, I disagree with that. I'm fine with certain vulgarities, but depending on how it's used. So, because it's something that's sitting there trying to degrade my gender all day, which men do 24/7, like literally 24/7. You claim you don't, I will sit down and go through your account and find about 1,000,000 times that you have. And so I have to take that in every day. And you're not calling it hate speech, and it is. And so I have the right to sit there and say something about it, because I get raped over it in real life. So yes, So by reverse engineering the noise and the lack of crowd control. Oh, and then you want to mute us down so nobody hears that we got harmed. Yeah, so that's been going on. That has overrun social media platforms. We can make the internet a more peaceful, reliable, less polarizing place. That's a joke. We all have to be the oneness. Like, this is just not going to happen. I mean, this is just the reality of it, because there's so many different people out here that are effed up in the head, and mostly men, because they don't want to see the problems with themselves, want to sit there and mute that down. Why would platforms sit there and promote and literally enable people targeting women all day long? Those are the people that make money. There's a reason for it, because the algorithm's going to go for it, because the general population is a pile of shit. So That's what's happening there. And so you want me to get muted out so you guys get peaceful, your little peaceful thing so you could trash us all day. That's exactly what you're trying to argue here. Because I'll tell you, there's nothing on this side that's promoting harm on other people. It's actually quite the opposite. And if you're that much of an idiot that you don't get it, that's just not my fault. But I do believe that they get it, and that's the reason why they don't want it, because they want male control all over the globe, right? So calling us liars is hate speech. That's just that. But you allowed it. The Jeb case. I mean, what the hell was that? That was on every platform. They allowed it, but they didn't consider that hate speech, right? So it doesn't even need to touch Section 230, the now famous 1996 law. Anything from the 90s needs to go. That law gives social media platforms immunity for the harmful content from healthcare hoaxes to election misinformation to Russian and Chinese state-sponsored propaganda. That has created a world of chaos and division. They have always, that's actually not, that actually is not true. So if anybody was born, in the 70s to the 80s, legitimately knows the church promotes this kind of garbage 24/7. So the church does it to control people. And again, you're not pulling out religion here, which it was religion because we were all up in that right then. And watching, that's why I pull out Michael, because I was like, Michael and them I was a huge fan of. And then I met like every single one over there, and I spent a shitload of money on buying all their crap. And then he's the main one that's out here like, I'm so great and special. God like bless me and shit. Well, a lot of those people, I don't know about him particularly, but a lot of those people did not believe in healthcare. And there's a reason why the general population didn't get healthcare then, because Christians believe that we deserve to be punished and die. And that's based on quite a lot of things, right? So a lot of people will, stick with, it's racism. But they have a huge thing about this. It's actually based more around religious things, where they believe that when they get a lot of good things in life, that those things is God blessing them, and then that if we have anything bad happening, it's God punishing us and we deserve to die, right? Everybody knows the AIDS thing, that whole thing. So that ideology came from that. And so the way you're just genericing it down here is bullshit. So the church was the one that was promoting that. Don't buy Crest because it is the company of Satan, and that the ram horn thing had everything to do with Satan and everything else. Okay, so the church was the ones that started piling this out into the population. Now, what is the actual MO of that? Maybe it has something even more to do with business. Maybe they were trying to harm a bunch of business people so some other companies made more money. See, you don't know the actual deep down vileness of these churches, because they're quite fraudulent around, but they can get the people to not buy something, which is pretty effed up, to not buy something and say, oh, this is what we call evil, even to toys, right? They weren't really against like guns. I was like, they weren't against guns. Somehow guns and God go together. But they were against like the Smurfs because they were blue, so it means death. Okay, so there was quite a lot of things going on here. So they manipulate the public, but they were very much against a lot of medical, because they believed that God would heal them. And you see this, you see this quite globally with different religions. Like they all have this sort of thing going on where they believe that God will protect you and your health, and you can pray for your health. And where do you think that comes from? So these things have nothing to do with social media. They actually just spread through the church prior to social media. So it's not a new concept that came around. It's just the same lunatics that have always been here. I think the problem is that the world is seeing what a nut job it is actually all in one page. And they've always been that nut job. And that's what I've been saying. I think about 99% of the world should be in a freaking asylum. But what can we do about that? Like, you couldn't just throw everybody in an asylum because that wouldn't be right. And you know what I mean? It's like, well, it's only going to be the rest of us out here, you know? Um, and you have to learn to kind of deal with that and try to persuade them onto being a sane person. And muting us down because you disagree with something is not peaceful. So, regardless of that, what you're doing is egging on more violence and anger, and even with them, because when you do that, then it just gives them more opportunity and to validate the violence that they do. And with me, I'm going to get really pissed off. It's not me promoting violence and hate, but it is going to get me pissed off, as you've seen, and it's happened, right? Mostly we're talking about sexual assault cases and celebrities and their shittiness, and their narcissistic egos and how they're terrible people, and they are. But you like to put them on a speaker over the rest of us. And they're a very small population of people. And it somehow dictates my universe, which it should not. They're not in it. And they have all the money in the world to do whatever the F they want. But they will make they will have an opinion over something that really harms everybody else. And they're no more smarter. And a lot of them are not very bright at all. No. And somehow we have to give them some sort of platform that I have to listen to them every day. I don't even have a choice, you guys. Like, I go to Google and Google throws me every celeb under the sun. Like, do I need to hear their opinion? I particularly like these stories that they do, like these more like, getting into like someone's real life and talking about their hardship and going through the system or something. That's a non-celebrity, right? Because that's the rest of the globe, right? They're going through this thing. Whereas celebrities come out and go, I think the greatest thing is just forgiving your rapists and hanging out with them. It's like, this is ridiculous. And then on top of that, go and sit there and say, I'm going to tell this woman that I don't approve of her job. And so I'm going to take away her income and have government target her, and then complain that government is targeting women across the globe. And it's just ridiculous. Like, things like that. And so they want to target me over stuff like that. They're against, what was the other topic? Okay, another topic was euthanasia. Okay, I believe I got targeted over, it was either between that and I don't know, because it had something to do with somebody, doing something over there. And I go, well, if you're at age 80 or getting close to there and you're still not happy on this planet and you're in trauma and suffering, well, who am I? You know what I mean? At this point. And I was talking about that people should focus on the problems that those people had, and what caused that to begin with, because we can actually go back now and see what caused it. And so it was a much smarter approach to that topic than you guys wanting to throw everybody in jail and you don't let people talk about it. And there's nuances to everything, of course. I mean, we're not promoting people to go and do that stuff. But we are talking about you guys muting people who are having a crisis, which is about the most evil thing I've ever seen in my life. Because I talked about how I rescued somebody from committing suicide on a social media platform where nobody cared. And I was like, holy shit. And I got to figure out where this person's at. And then the police didn't want to either. And I got so lucky in this, like investigating like how to find where they're at. And they posted their phone number somewhere. And thankfully, I'm really good at snooping. Oh, God, that was it was not a good experience for me. Because it was a very frantic, I got to find it now. And not, I have days and months to go figure this out. And the cops are just like, what are we supposed to do? We don't know. They could be anywhere. They didn't want to do anything. And today, what they do is, if that person was posting that, they literally mute them out and block them and kick them off the social media. I'm like, how evil can you be? How evil can you be? It's just evil. But their perspective is it makes it a sane, sound place. I go, but this is the reality of the world. People suffer. They don't want to see it. The same way how they deal with the homeless crisis, right? It's like, we're gonna just lock them all up and do a in-home prison and be done with it and say we're good people and we did something today. That's them. And this is kind of this guy's summing up of this whole thing. Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram. Oh, both companies that have had issues with me from day one. Okay, so Facebook was a big one at the very intro. And I said something in 2008 or 9 or so where they were outing victims. I'm like, I have no idea what the hell their problem is. I go, I have a band and I'm promoting my band. And out of nowhere, they pull this bullshit. And I told people, nobody cared, right? It was like, oh, we don't care. I was like, how is it making the place safe? You're trying to make me a devil. You're trying to say that a place is safer without me. You can F off. That's your argument. That is your argument right here. And then it says, and Instagram already promises users that it will enforce community standards that prohibit, among other abuses, inciting violence. Well, you're inciting violence every time you call a woman a liar and you use derogatory language. And it was YouTube, who's also connected with Google, that said you can go ahead and start calling women bitches again. And I'm sitting, and I'm from a ban. That's why I said, I go, it's a little different when women are saying it, but we really shouldn't say it because somehow they think it's okay to say it. And they said that. And I was sitting in one of their like little bullshit, I don't know what it was called. Like they were talking, they had these meetings where they're talking about the platform and the use of it and the changes. And some like redheaded psychotic comes on there and goes, "You okay, bitch," and all this. And I'm like, did you literally just say, no care in the world? It's like anybody flinging out the N-word. No care in the world. No care in the world. It's so okay and normalize that. They don't even put that under any of these type of abuses at all. And I have to sit there and read it every day. Inauthentic behavior, such as setting up fake accounts. Well, some people may need to set up fake accounts. I don't know why they have fake accounts, but I know a lot of these companies, there's a whole thing to be said about this, but some people do have company fake accounts for different company reasons. But then again, what do you see? Now you're going into a territory that can touch on other people's businesses that you could call it a fake account, but it's actually a legitimate account for some other thing. So, now I have had fake accounts come at me where it seems that it's promoted through a, I don't want to say, is it a talent agency? Like, a agency for, celebs. Where I think that this is my opinion on it, it looks like, to me, that it looks like that they have taken up on some accounts, so they go take attacks on people that they want to rid of, talking about that celebrity under their agency, promoting suicide. Okay, here's a problem. That's what I said. If you start bringing up euthanasia, then this crosses the line of into politics. You disagree with it, we don't. So it depends on what you're talking about, right? We're not just out in the open saying everybody should do that, right? However, when we start talking about euthanasia, it starts cutting into that thing right there. And I think that's why I got targeted. I'm not really sure, but it was a topic that was brought up in California, I believe, is made illegal, something about it. But anyway, religious fundamentalists do not believe in that. So they believe you should, suffer it out and, this whole thing. So yes, that's a new, that topic has different things. So where's the line, right? Where's the line? Okay. And then, bullying. Okay. Well, you bully women every day on the platform. So again, basically they want you to be this like wholesome person that like literally never says like a bad thing, because it's going to go beyond bullying, because some of the ways that some of these people are talking about bullying is not technically bullying. It's just being critical of like, I don't like your thing that you're doing right now, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, you this thing, which is totally different than what's been happening towards me. Hate speech. Again, there's the female thing. Every time you use the B word, H word, liar, any of that, blah, blah, blah. Now they're calling it hate speech if I say something about men. I go, but that's just the truth of it, and we could literally prove it, and it's literally in your laws. I mean, we didn't do those laws, right? So that's from men, right? So you want to pervert this topic on these things right here, and what you're considering hate speech. So graphics or sexually explicit content, again, this starts targeting women again, where you consider them in a little skirt as being sexually explicit. And okay, so basically it does. It targets women again, because men, I had an issue with this too. Like, okay, so there was women promoting like their businesses online, right? Some of them are adult. Yet there was these men, artists, quote unquote artists, whatever you want to call them, posting nude pictures of women saying it was for their music thing or whatever the thing is, and that was totally fine. I'm like, double standard bullshit. Only is okay if a man does it, and then calls it art. And technically you could call it all art, because anybody doing any of these businesses is, I mean, they're workers. I mean, just like this guy is, doing that. That's how he's making his money. He's using, but I find it more disgusting that a man does it, because the man is using women as an object to sit there and lure him to get money, right? Because nobody's attracted to him, I guess. So they go and do some bullshit like that. So then I tell the platform, just to see, I mean, not to try to get people busted, but it's like the double standard of this. Nothing. They left it up. Yeah. And another thing that they also left up was hate speech on victims of Michael Jackson. So that was another one. So okay, so apparently you're not supposed to ask to kill people online. I mean, you shouldn't. But apparently, under the circumstances, if you say it's for Michael, then it was okay. And then Facebook didn't remove it, and they just left it there for fans to sit there and say that we should go kill and go after these Michael Jackson victims, okay? And it wasn't the Chew that came in the Neverland thing. It was earlier stuff. And I was like, wow, okay, double standard. So then I went back and checked it again, right? Then YouTube claims that it doesn't allow, pornography on there and child porn. And then they did again. And then instead of removing the content, they put it under adult. And I'm like, that's disgusting. That was a more recent one, and I just let it be, because I'll let them get in trouble on their own. I'm tired of it. Yeah, no, if you see a father letting their baby in their naked butt, this video was so bad, you guys. And you know what I was looking for, I believe on this night, was depantsing, because I was talking about the topic, because I go, you know how bad that was? So I was like literally just really trying to tackle that topic and how normalized it was. And I literally found a shitload of videos on YouTube, girls even doing it. And then it popped up, I believe that's what it was. And then it popped up this oddball video of this father and its little infant. And I go, no way, that just did not happen. That did not happen. And then so I tell YouTube, and I think they removed the other guy. Okay, so there was another video of a guy that got depantsed by his guy friend. And he pulled down his underwear and everything. And so it was full frontal nude, dude. And he throws it up on YouTube, and it wasn't under 18 plus. Because I guess under 18 plus, they can get away with that. But even still, it's a non-consensual act, right? So then, therefore, it should be removed. But sometimes it's hard to tell what's a non-consensual act, okay? So I had videos posted of me online that is a consensual act, but it's meant to look like it's not. So this is a problem too with that stuff. But there is, what do you call it? Document signed. Yes, I consented, like the people involved consented. I didn't do anything against, I was like, I didn't do anything against anybody's consent. However, when the public views that, they, I guess, maybe assumed that the act may be non-consensual, because they were questioning it in the comments, and I thought it was hilarious back when, because I'm like, who thinks that I would run around and do this shit? And it was really popular. It was a really popular one. I think it had like 5 to 6 I don't know, I had it either like 100K to some odd, it had a shitload of views, guys. And there were so many comments under it. I was just kind of, and it was entertaining because I didn't put it up, but somebody else did. And I was like, I didn't know so many people were such a fan of me. They didn't even know it was me. I go, they're totally nice to me here, right? Because they don't know it's me. But they were like, kind of like, talk about how cool I was for doing this. And I go, well, I mean, it's not real. I mean, but you don't want to tell them it's not real, because they were kind of enjoying the whole like setup of this thing. And, but yeah, so they want to stop anybody even doing stuff like that, content like that, where it seems like it's against somebody's will, this thing, that thing. Okay, so, and it's pretty G-rated. I mean, I wouldn't say G-rated, maybe a PG-rated, but it wasn't an R or an X-rated thing, technically, really. But they forced that under, that thing. And in fact, it was outside of the Vivid movie place on Ventura. I'll put that much out there. And if anybody followed like me singing in a band, when we were doing our shows, I think I was actually wearing the same shirt in that video, because I don't believe that we were planning on doing it. And then somebody came up with that, and I go, okay. I was like, okay, let's do it. So, yes, okay. So, if anybody's like going off of something like that, those things are definitely consensual. Now, there were some things in those things that were actually not consensual, and I've kind of mentioned some of that in this other thing. But anyway, so this will cause imminent physical harm, healthcare misinformation, and misinformation about elections and voting. But there's nothing. So this, like I said, this problem has been eons old, right? So even before I was born, I'm sure, because the church dictates politics. If it didn't, the world wouldn't be such a shitty place, okay? So back in the day, at least it wasn't, I mean, our church, I don't recall the political thing, but I was very young. So if anybody started throwing out any of that, I would have tuned it out anyway, and I wouldn't even have understood what they were talking about. The main fuel was like the Baptists, the Assembly of God. A lot of those people were really heavily into politics, and you saw it with the Duggars too, right? So that's why I was like, oh, all of them. I mean, I guess they just don't understand that they're all this way. And Mormons, I'm sure too, but very heavily into politics, and so they wanted their sons to get into politics or any type of thing where they can force their power and control over the population. And so who was the population then? It was mostly all Christians. So we're suffering. And these are the people that are coming up with this shit right now. That's why I'm like, well, your perspective is coming from a religious fundamentalist point of view. And I disagree with that. And I'm a small population. So you want to run over me so you can have your perfect world of male supremacy and you trashing women. And that's your peaceful place. Don't disagree with you. Okay. So, this list could more accurately describe all the categories of harmful content that have flourished on Facebook and Instagram. Most of the other platforms have similar lists of prohibited content, and I don't agree with their examples of it. So they've taken things out of context that I was talking about. I'm like, I'm glad that you agree with me, because I'm not the one calling the women that. So on one post, and they're to myself too, which is amazing. Like, it's kind of to myself to the public, but I'm not talking at a person, right? I'm not adding at somebody and saying this thing. I was using something as an example, and it pulled it out and said, it's hate speech. It's this, and you're bullying. I'm like, wow, I don't know. Who am I bullying? There's nobody here. It totally did. And then it's all, we agree and we stick to what we say. And I'm like, I have no idea who I was bullying because there's nobody here. Yeah, yeah. So I had a lot of these type of things. And I'm like, no, I'm literally talking about people bullying us because they're bullying me. There's no way I could bully a population that is a moral, what they call moral majority. I cannot bully that population. It would be damn near impossible on any aspects of the power and control. So now you're asking for more power and control to censor us under these guidelines right here, and I don't agree with the guidelines because it's very subjective. Okay, so most of the other platforms have similar lists of prohibited content. Okay, we take our rules seriously, but our algorithms encourage a lot of that content. The truth, okay, so, and the volume of it flowing through our platform makes it impossible to prevent much of it from being posted, even if we wanted to, sorry. Yet that's basically what they say whenever they embarked on another session of their years-long apology tours, testifying in front of Congress and similar tribunes around the world. Here's the problem with that. So you want to cause another fragmented part of society by muting a majority. Okay, so if the algorithm wants it, what the algorithm is saying is that the majority of America, the piles of shit psychotics, want to say those things and do those things. I'm not part of that majority. And I find it interesting that I'm quite heavily targeted in this arena, whereas they could say things that I can't. And I'm actually talking about them, like what their problems, right? And they're calling it hate speech from me, so I have to be okay with it. And then they could say whatever they want about me. That's what's happening. So let's be real about that. Me asking for a video footage at a club is not any breaking any rules anywhere under the sun. Do we need a lawyer for that? Yeah. So here's another thing. So if any platform is purposely hiding and covering up a crime, it's a crime. They should never be protected under that. So you're trying to argue a couple of things here that I've always had problems with. I go, you cannot okay CEOs of platforms to cover up crimes because you don't believe what is being posted. And it's hard for you to know the truth of that until it comes out, right? Did it not come out? LAPD and all those people are a bunch of gangbangers. LASD is a bunch of gangbangers. And we were talking about human trafficking and the correlation to the gangbangers, right? The platforms believe that to be insanity and not true. Again, who is dictating what is reality? So I'm basing it on real experience and me dealing with them. It's not a made-up story. And where it gets totally faulty is when you have people like QAnon, which was a purposeful act, I do believe, to get you to look away from the real problem. But there's nothing I can do in the universe of those people. There's nothing I can say to make them see the light. That's the truth about it. And if I start blocking them, I could block them in my own universe, right? Like on my channels or wherever. But I'm just saying if I block them off a big platform that's supposed to be for everyone, it's going to create another problem of terrorism, things like where people are storming the Capitol, doing things like this that can, which will grow into something worse because you're essentially saying they cannot express themselves. So my thing is, if somebody's talking in a way that I don't like, I need to be able to verbally express it and for them to hear it. I can't stop them from saying it. But what can happen in a situation like that, they may reevaluate what they're doing and essentially maybe they may stop. And, but not by me telling them not to. It's one of those things where people will say something and they'll defend it to the end, but then all of a sudden one day they go, you know what, it's pretty fucked up, because I probably shouldn't have been saying that. And then they go do their own thing, right? And then they kind of stop saying it. Maybe they'll lose a job because, something will happen because of it. But other things was, people bringing up some racial things that was not in my view, or at least the way that I was viewing it wasn't proper. So, and it wasn't very nice on some things, but some other things I still stand my ground on some earlier cases, yeah. But regardless of the fact, it still gave me an education as to why certain things were certain things, right? So it needed to happen. But if you started muting those people that were coming at me, it wouldn't have, I don't think I would have been, I wouldn't have got my attention. Could they have done it a better way? Yes. I'm like, yes. But again, there was a positive that came out of some of those things. And hopefully vice versa is happening, because it's not a thing where it's like I'm wrong all the time or they're wrong all the time. You know, this other group's wrong all the time. It's just, it needs to be had. And sometimes these conversations are not friendly at all. And that's reality. They want to sit there and make it romper room. And no, that's just not, because ultimately who gets harmed in it? The minority groups that are getting harmed by that fake moral majority that have always been harmed by those groups since the very beginning. So it's only trying to go back to that Puritanism thing. And it's funny that they say that for me. I go, no, I'm just saying that the basis of their argument is not founded. And I'm pointing out, even historically, that it was always men, right? So we're pointing that out. And they want to consider that hate speech. I'm just laughing at it. I'm just like, whatever. But it's just true. It's just fundamentally true. And again, it's a guy making up this argument here. He wants to silence us down. So we're supposed to sit in a room with our perpetrators and say, oh, we love them. We got to be civil with our rapists and human traffickers. That's not going to happen, honey. It's just not going to, it wouldn't happen in court either. You're lucky I wouldn't be one of the people jumping over the freaking table trying to kill the guy. But they're trying to force us to be like that with people who harm other people. And they want to mute it down to make everything sugar-coated. And everybody's going to get along in this happy, wonderful world, which is a pile of crap. So the unfair and deceptive, okay, so what do they say? The FTC is responsible for protecting consumers, including by suing companies that defraud them by violating the terms of a contract. Section 5 of the laws creating the FTC declares that unfair or deceptive acts or practices in or affecting commerce are unlawful, and empowers the Commission to prevent companies from using such deceptive practices. The Commission's policy statements on deception defines deceptive practices as a material representation, omission, or practices that is likely to mislead a consumer acting responsibly in the circumstances. In fact, the FTC has already taken action against Facebook for violating the privacy promises it makes in those same terms of service and imposed a $5 billion fine in 2020. The FTC's website explains the Commission may use rulemaking to address unfair or deceptive practices or unfair methods of competition that occur commonly in lieu of relying solely on actions against individual respondents. Accordingly, the Commission could enforce the content promises in the terms of services by promulgating a rule that any digital platform must prominently and clearly spell out in its terms of service what content it will allow and not allow. And then, with their privacy assurance, make sure they keep those promises. Spelling out the terms prominently and clearly would mean posting a large chart on the prominent screen listing all possible offending content and requiring the platform to check a box if the content is prohibited or allowed. Well, you're still anti-female on the business aspect of these things, and that's the way they want it. But you were trying to argue that women and their businesses is not part of free speech, and it is. And so why are men controlling this atmosphere to begin with? Facebook and a lot of these platforms are owned by white men particularly, but yeah. And what was their mentality before that? Okay, so they believe that women were liars and that rape is made up and that we're piles of shit and we were meant to be controlled. And so their platform, their businesses, were out here to take control over women's careers and harm somebody's income, right? And so you come again at us and then say it's our fault for you coming at us and then taking our income because you didn't want us being independent workers that made money online. And it's entertainment. Like, it's just a general entertainment, right? It's before any of this other bullshit was going on. I was talking about it, how originally it was by a whole bunch of other women, right? And not the people who were focused as being celebrities about it. But they found that there was a lot of income to be made in these areas. And so men wanted to come in and disrupt that place right there and remove women's incomes so they can have full control over the globe. I mean, that's the reality of it. So right here is just another thing of you guys. It's just all that same shit. Like, there's nothing they could say here that is going to have me on his side about any of it. None of it. Spelling out those terms prominently and clearly would mean posting a large chart on a prominent screen. I don't know what the fuck. Listing all possible offending content and yeah, but I don't agree what they're considering is offensive. Okay, so that's another thing. It's like, so who are these people that are coming up with this stuff? I mean, you're trying to say that it should be okay for men to go after women's businesses, and it's misleading or whatever the argument is, for these businesses, because I guess, saying doing the COVID shot was bad or something. It may be legitimately bad for some people. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, if those people, who do those people hurt the most? Themselves. And it's an ongoing thing. Again, it's just, they're always going to be that way because you promote religious freedom. Because you promote religious freedom, the most psychotics of psychotics are going to come up with the most crazy thing. They believe in talking burning bushes. What the hell? They're going to come up with this kind of crap. There's nothing you could say or do, and you muting them out does not change the fact that they're psychotics. It doesn't. Like I'm just saying. Restrictions on government regulations. Here's the problem. You go, in keeping with the First Amendment restrictions on government regulations of the content of speech, it would be up to the platforms to decide which content to prohibit. Again, who owns these platforms? We had Jack sitting there targeting women all day long. And I'm just sitting there going, but they said no hate speech. I go, but you literally let men come on here with the C word as a username, not even just in a post, as a username. And I'm a woman, okay? So it coming from me is quite a different place. They let men go onto that platform and sign up and call themselves the C word and sitting there saying all this shit, right? And I go, well, you have to be consistent if you're really against that word, okay? This word was thrown out, I don't know, it's like a couple times, a couple people who really deserve some more stronger words. Yes. But anyway, it's woman to woman. Okay. So, but they were letting men go onto the platform and not just type it in a post, use it as their name. So as every time they posted stuff, it would say it. And every time I read stuff, right, it'd be C word, C word, C word, and they're trashing women all day. Right. And there was multiple accounts with this. It wasn't just one. And I was like, oh, okay, so we're going to have this type of thing. So I had to fight them, and they didn't want to respond. So I was like, well, if a company's going to be like that, they have to be consistent across the board and not sit there and say it's only okay for men, but it's not okay for you women, who we use that word as a derogatory towards women. So that was one of the ones, that was just a smack. That was like a couple day, you can't put, that was that. But somebody literally went out of their way to find this word, right? And I was like, oh, so are you, okay, so I know we don't post the N-word on here, so, but what if a person of color posts the N-word? Are you going to say that, are you targeting them? Because I want to know, because then there's a problem, right? Because that doesn't make any sense. Why would you be targeting people where that, again, it's the same concept, right? So, no, it would be bad if I'm sitting there throwing it out and saying it about them, right? But at the same time, they can't have a rule like that and not be across the board about it, right? See? So you have a problem there. There's not really a middle ground to that. You have to let it be. I'm trying to force everybody to get along, and I could vomit. I'm not going to get along with these people. It's not going to happen. I don't get along with bullies. I mean, these people are bullies. They're trying to present themselves as the non-bully, and that's why I'm saying, I go, that's incorrect. Your view and your perspective of it is ass backwards. This would give a stricter platform a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Yeah. And they actually control my income on every fucking level. This is what I was talking about. They're bullies from hell. So they want to make sure that they squeeze me out and don't let me make any money and sit there and try to demonize me as some like bad human. I'm like, where did I do anything bad? I literally saved a life on a fucking platform. I'm like literally posting about the most horrific things that government's doing, and you have a problem with it and you try to say it was fake, and then it turned out to be true. Again, who are you to judge? You don't know. See, you're an idiot. So I got targeted big time over these topics. I go, and sometimes I have to be very provocative in posting stuff so people can get a clue about themselves and how horrible of a human that they are. And so there's a lot of sarcasm too and stuff, because it's like, who the hell runs around like this? These people. I'm the greatest thing on fucking planet Earth. I'm like, you need a fucking head doctor. You know, it's like, how did this happen? You know, but it's not me posting stuff like that. So, let's see. You're talking to you. Oh, they were promoting annihilating the homeless. Okay, so this was another thing that they promoted violence on poor people, and to justify it, call them all drug addicts and mentally ill. So then they were justifying this throughout the platform. The language that they use would not be picked up by AI. It wouldn't be picked up in that way, because what they want to go after is, you know, certain specific things, but the way that people talk is not really something that it was picking up anyway, and they wouldn't care anyway. So them saying, oh, they're a bunch of drug addict, mentally ill people, that's hate speech, by the way. And I'm sitting there countering it, talking about how celebrities are a bunch of drug addict losers, and that's what they want to call hate speech. And I'm like, that's interesting. You can't allow one side to the other. So I counter it. I kind of counter their bullshit. So, yeah, we have a lot of female celebrity bullies, and they just want to double down on their bullshit. So, I mean, oh, so I'm supposed to be okay with that and get along with that? That's not happening. That's just not happening. They're bullies. And they're doing things and abusing their power onto others. And the most people that are bullies are very wealthy individuals and what they consider successful, because they bullied their way into their industry. And they ran over everybody else to do it. And they ran over us to do it. So they've done a million things, okay? I mean, it's quite a big topic. Mostly when it starts coming into cutting into my income. And Amazon still owe me money, dude. They rip me off and they don't want to pay me. I mean, the company's a multi-billion-dollar company and they can't pay me. And they want to have this fight with me. They literally want to have this fight with me for over a year now. And then they just go do manipulative things, you know, and do things and cut down my sales. And that's what they do. It's a retaliation. And these are the people that control the entire internet, okay? So they own the web, okay? So when I start getting into a battle with the ultra billionaires, they're white men. And they want to take over the globe. So these are their rules. They're not ours. Are they ours? Did women come up with this? If they are, I want to know what their religion is. So no, I don't agree with none of this. I don't consider what you're calling hate speech actual hate speech. It's a counter to what you're doing as hate speech. So again, perspectives, they're wrong, I'm right. So that's just where it's at. Because at the end of the day, and the reason why I know I'm right, and I'm going to make my point here, is that I have been very consistent on these topics. And it's always like later down the road, they have to turn around and go, oops, I'm the wrong one. I'm sorry, right? Even historically, you go back, they're fuck ups, right? So every time they make these rules and laws, they do shit, they harm everybody, and they turn around like 20, 50, 60, 100 years later and go, God, we were terrible. And they never listen. It's them. So they keep doing it. They're bullies. This whole thing is garbage. We're not going to get along. And you're going to always think, no matter what, you're always going to think what I say is offensive. Because I'm not in your cult. I was like, because I'm not in your cult. That's just the fact of the matter. And I'm not going to be okay in your cults and they're forcing babies on us. That's absurd. I'm an older woman now. Somebody got me pregnant because they raped me. We're getting an abortion, honey. That shit ain't fucking happening. Women can die. Okay, so let's make those who run the platforms be good Samaritans. Are you kidding? The ones that are hanging out with the human traffickers and hanging out at human trafficking nightclubs? Are you kidding? Those guys and a McMansion? No.
They're not good Samaritans. They'll never be good Samaritans. They're always going to be a pile of shit. And they'll always hate me, and we just mutually hate each other. They're not going to come to my side. But guess what? One of them in that little mafia pack literally came back to his comments from eons ago. The one that FBI, I guess, put him as a fucking narc. Oh yeah, that's perfect, FBI. You wouldn't pick somebody like me. And I wouldn't want to, but I'm just saying. So he comes back and goes, God, I shouldn't have said those comments. Yeah, you're an idiot. I didn't say that shit back then. You said it. And you think you're smarter than the fucking room. And you had to come back and eat your words. That what you said is hate speech. That's what he said was hate speech. And he's a billionaire. And I'm sitting here watching this shit go on. And they're the ones coming up with this crap right here. They need to get out of the business room because they suck. And that's the thing about it. Like, I couldn't mute all these people. The thing that I would mute, I was saying, is promoting criminal acts such as saying I'm going to go and rape you. I mean, what the hell? I mean, I think everybody can agree, like, that's pretty damn bad. Because you're promoting, or at least you're saying that you're going to go commit an actual crime. And that's a bad thing. So, outside of that, there's been a lot of things that I just, I don't like it. I said they've come here, they make fun of my disabilities. They came here and made fun of trying to say I'm a there's a lot of things that they say that it is a form of bullying, but it's not okay. So some of the actions that they do when they're bullying in the full context of everything, they're trying to ruin my algorithm. So with them doing that, because the general population is a fuck up, they need to be protecting me to help me not be muted as a minority group of a person, right? Yeah, so that was one thing on this topic, because they've been doing it to transgenders too, right? So that's just another example. So the general population has issues with transgenders, so then therefore they go and they target these groups of people, and then it harms their algorithm, and then it like mutes up a minority group of people to be harmed by a population of psychotics, right? So they need to do a protection on those people, not the majority of people, because the majority of people are okayed. I mean, it's sort of that perspective. So let's see where they go. I mean, how long is this? Do I really want to go through? Okay, it's almost done. We should have learned by now the ability for anyone anywhere to send any kind of video or text message instantly to everyone anywhere may be a technically marvel, but technology marvel, but is anything but a positive development. Well, maybe you're the only one with the problem with it. A quieter, less spontaneous online community is superior to the alternative of people live streaming a murder, summoning rioters to Capitol, or happening in the days following the attack, that whole thing. Facebook, X, and you see, but you're asking for censorship, like this thing right here. But can you tell me, like, them not seeing it? Like, I don't know what it is in their brain about this. They think, like, if it's not being seen at all, that it just isn't happening in the forest, right? Like, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, it just didn't do it, right? Like, something. And they're going to be celebrating. They celebrated this act before it was even being able to be seen across the globe, right? So the way that, things would travel was like the news, right? So should we mute the news? Holy crap, they keep showing murder on the news. Like, shit, man. And they're celebrating all these things on the news. I mean, are we not getting it on the news? We are getting it on the news. So do we start censoring the news? We should just not know anything going on in the world. Kind of this argument here, like, I don't know. They think they got it all, thought out here. No, they're asking for censorship for people like me, not for this thing right here. Like, they're saying it like this, but technically they want to censor me, and they want to make it only a global thing for male supremacist Christians. Like, that's it. And how dare us, like, criticize Israel, or I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm the most uneducated on that whole thing there, so I don't give my input because I should just shut up. Other than the aspect of rape, nobody should be okaying rape and those things on anyone, regardless of what's going on there. But Oh, you guys wanted to censor TikTok. I mean, again, it's about censorship, power, and control. I mean, what the hell? So they were doing that. Then the promises from Silicon Valley, which all the rich people took over our old family's hometown. Nobody could afford to live there, and it's a pile of shit now. And they want it to be the way that they want it to be. And that this is really the argument. They want their world to be the way that they want it to be, but nobody else, honey. And God forbid any woman puts her opinion out here how the world should be. That needs to be censored, dude. That's just hate speech going against us. And somehow these are the people of peace, and they're not, and they never were. Okay, because they want to coming to censorship. I mean, that's their thing, and that's never gonna work. We're gonna have this. I already see what's happening. Because I'm a forward thinker. I was like, I'm a forward thinker. I always have been. So we're kind of going in this round of the 1980s again. And you know what's going to happen? Because I kind of see a little bit of this going on. You know, the country shit coming. Oh, yeah, it was all country and shit in the 80s. Oh, shit, yeah. And we are fighting against these people. These same people. These are the same people. They're just older now. They're just in some newer generation coming up here going on about the same thing. The world keeps turning. It's the same thing. Nothing new under the sun. What's going to happen is this huge backlash is going to happen, and they're going to fight against this whole thing right here. The more that they go into this thing of trying to mute people down and censor them down to control them into being a certain thing, actually does the opposite effect. It does. And then it went batshit crazy right around the 90s. Right around the 90s there. Like, actually in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, right around there. So, technically that'll start coming up because people are just going to have it. I mean, it's just, they're not going to have it anymore. So, I mean, to what that'll look like, I mean, I don't know if it'll look anything like that time, but it'll be a necessity because of too much suppression, like a suppression thing. The last thing I want to do is have these lunatics sit there and get more pissed off than they already are and do more horrific things. Because they will. That's just the nature of it. And I'm telling you, I was like, I should be able to say what I need to say on topic. Just because you don't believe they're real, or you want to sit there and do hate speech on me. See, you're reversing it. They have reversed this topic so hard to sit there and okay and justify harming me. That's what I'm saying. I go, it's very subjective how they're throwing that out there. Hate speech. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So it's like calling me the B word and a whore and a liar is not. Okay, yeah. Can you tell me how, like, all these homeless people were targeted on the street and then they started getting serial killers and all these things because you guys were promoting that we should do something about them because there's something categorically wrong with them? Like, this type of speech is the thing that actually causes the violence. Government that rapes women up in their fucking offices are the ones sitting there being the ones auditing this stuff or something. Like, you want them to oversee it. So you think some good outcome is going to come with somebody with a biased view about groups of people such as women, because America has a major problem with women throughout its history, that they're going to sit there and make an educated, proper, healthy decision on what it should do. No. Like I said, right now, they're not even going after human trafficking. It's a front. It's a fake crusade. What they're going after more than likely is murder and other gang-related activities and things like that, because that's always been their number one topic. They sat there and shamed me for a money aspect. I'm like, dude, money was taken from me throughout this thing because it was a fraud. So I somehow shouldn't be angry at that. Like, no, I should be fuming pissed, and I should sue every part of government that allowed it. So their stance is to protect themselves and not protect me. So they're not on my side. That's just the truth about it. But you want us to go to them to sit there and be the granddaddy of, morals here? No. Okay. So the FTC has regulatory authority to proceed on its own without Congress to enforce the platform's own contractual promises, and you can encourage the commissioners to do just that. And the FTC website invites consumers to report fraud, although this clearly meant I'm assuming they're talking about, um, okay, so wait, the FTC website invites consumers to report fraud, although this is clearly meant for specific complaints about some online scam or unwelcome robocall. Oh, I get them all the time. If you think your social media company is not keeping its promises about preventing harmful content, you can report them here. Um, but when I report them about what you guys are saying, the general population of men want to cover it, and that's who it goes to, right? And if it goes to Christian psychotics, forget it. Because they okay the hate speech on women. So, I mean, what are we for? I mean, this is a joke. Like, the whole thing here is. But I was like, I don't know if they're talking about the commercials, like when they were doing the thing, I think on Facebook. I hadn't been on Facebook since 2009 or something. Like, once in a while, if I have to research a story, I have to go on there to go look at stuff. But I haven't used the platform like that since then. No, because I took a stance against them when you guys all okayed it. Again, I'm over a decade ahead of y'all. I was actually sounding the alarm on the problem of Facebook, and everybody, I go, I honestly thought that it would just go downhill from there, but then instead, what happened was they turned him into a mega monster. And so, again, where was I wrong? I wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong at all. But I think they're talking about the fraudulent ads that were on there. Is that what they're talking about? I haven't been on there. Like I said, it's been a long time, but I remember them bringing up something about the targeted ads and misleading users and it going down weird rabbit holes, a thing, something to do with that. So I deserve to be suspended over asking for a video. I was like, that's what I'm saying. I go, they're not talking about the reality of what's going on, and I am. And the majority do not like me. I'm already very clear about that. Like, if I want to be really liked, I know what game to play, which is the game that you're all playing. In order for a change to happen, you have to actually go against the mass group of people that hate you. And hopefully that those messages get out in the proper way. They're the ones that want to stop the messaging. They want to keep the control and power and indoctrinate everybody into this other bullshit. And I'm like, no. And nobody should be okay with any of this stuff. Who was the one that didn't give us medical, right? You guys were all Christians. You believe that we should die. I think that type of mentality is very dangerous for anywhere on the globe, right? So, it's not me coming back going, God, I wish I didn't not give people medical and they all died. Like, I don't have that on my conscience, but these people do, and they keep ruining everything. Like, again, the platforms were fine until these people came in. I enjoyed the interactions generally with people, and where everybody was talking almost like they're your neighbor, right? And a news story came out and you're like, oh my god, I was literally down the street, and then they throw something up, they're like, oh yeah, they just said it was this and that. It was like this level of thing that was actually likable. The people that manipulated it were Christians. QAnon, Christians have destroyed every platform. These morally high horse psychotics have destroyed these platforms. They destroy everything. They destroy life. They kill people. They harm people. They do all these things, right? All these topics are revolving around religion. When they start pulling up country, yeah. So they want to mute us down because we're not part of that. And that's the truth of it. Does he talk about that? No. Like I said, their definition of things, they threw me right into it. So they basically will throw all LGBTQ into it. They'll throw people of color that are fighting racism into it. They'll throw any other religion that they don't agree with into it. I have the right to criticize their religion all fucking day long. Trust that. But they're going to sit there and go, oh, for the peace of us all, you need to just be okay with anything that they do. No, that's not happening. No. And they keep calling everybody Satan. So then they're the ones that attack us all day long. Right. So that thing, so it's only okay when they do it, but not when other people do, actually, go back to at that thing. So But here's the good thing. Here's the good thing, and we know how we're winning this war anyway. The church is dying, and a million people are leaving it. So, eventually, that scale will tip over back, or hopefully back into the proper sphere there. When people really realize the game that everybody's playing with your head. This little caveat. I'm like, I don't know this addition to this because they're pulling it into social media and going, them showing murders and all these things and people celebrating. I'm like, wow, it's really funny because every time I turn on the public TV, like the broadcast antenna, every channel is about murder. I was like, can I watch something that doesn't deal with somebody killing each other? And in these programs, they manipulate you and how you should think about the story, and it's really bad. Okay, so I've been really big on talking and criticizing them. So I do this a lot um, on some side stuff where my opinion matters. Okay, so the way that they perceive women on these shows is extraordinarily negative and not proper. Second, they show the victims being murdered and photos of the crime scenes, which to some people is a pornography, mostly to men that hate women. Um, Third, it gives other perpetrators ideas on how to commit crimes, regardless on how they're talking about it. And then they perpetuate this thing that men are these big heroes and women are just like the side story on these things. There's so much to this. I go, so it wouldn't have anything particularly and solely to do with social media. The general thing of the messaging put out here in a number of ways, such as things like that. I would be interested in who's doing the programming, and Dateline needs a fucking help, dude. Like, what the hell's that shit? I didn't even know it was so bad. I used to watch that a long time ago. Um, oh my God. It's awful. I just never, I think it was just that I never sat down and really like took it in as what they're saying. I don't know, but there's a lead into this stuff, and then them minimizing domestic violence, okay, and then trying to claim that nobody abused anybody when clearly there was abuse in it. It doesn't mean that the female perpetrator didn't do what they did, right? But I was like, no, clearly there's these things in it, and they're minimizing that, which is a really bad thing. And so that actually translates into social media where they have minimized the hate speech and violence on a gender. And so that's what I tackle. So no, I'm pretty on my game here of what I'm going at. And it's so interesting how many terrible humans are out here because a lot of the content when I was talking about earlier stuff had to do with, generally speaking, I had different people in mind as I was talking about stories, right? So I guess because some of these stories hit home with some people that they decided to bully me. Because I guess whatever I was saying there had something to do with them personally, which I couldn't know that in a million years. Yeah, so conviction. So conviction rate would be through those topics. I never outed any names who I was specifically talking about, but for some reason, these psychotics out here were reading it, I guess, and going, wow, they're talking about me, and so therefore I'm going to go at them. Like, there's been that going on too. So I was like, no, I mean, people that are doing bad things to me would know they're doing bad things to me. I find it interesting that there's other people paying attention to me and then thinking I'm talking about them and then targeting me. It's the craziest thing. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of shitty people out here then, because I know I wasn't talking about y'all, but you look at how they're acting now. Like, it was a thing like that because early on, some of the people I was talking about were non-celebrities that were part of this bigger picture of things going on, because there's a shitload of businessmen behind all of this, right? As you're looking at the CEO thing and the the social media, they're not celebrities. Like maybe the CEO became one, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes to these companies, and the things that are going on behind the scenes, and people having issue with me at these companies who I've never met in my life. And I know the origin of it was with the celebrity camp, the Alice camp, totally. Because at no point in time prior to that did I have a issue with a CEO of an internet company, or even, to my knowledge, meet any of them. Now, if I did, it was because I came into a human trafficking ring. But no. And so it started up actually through the celebrity camp, and that actually had been ongoing since 2001. So I wanted to point that out as a major thing to my story, where there was actually a lead off from these big honchos targeting me. And as you see, throughout the years, they were hanging out with other human traffickers. It wasn't the group that I was talking about. They were hanging out with other human traffickers. Facebook is one of them. Microsoft had an individual in their company that was bragging about being part of the hostess ring things. That's what I was saying. I go, yeah, that's stuff right there. And I'm pointing it out. And then Google gets sued to hell because of their sexual misconduct. Number of things, right? So they don't like the topic I'm talking about. And also, the other creepy thing about it is when I was outing people from the past, right? They were already outed in the past. And then at the time period in the 90s, when these stories were out, nobody cared about them, right? And so I was doing a lot of research when Google was a good place to research. And so I was pulling these stories up, and they didn't like that at all. They did not. And they can see how I'm searching. And they started manipulating the way that I search for things to where you can't find it. So now my searches are scrambled. I'm just telling you that. That was a purposeful act. To sit there and try to say something is optimized is just, you're fucking with my, intelligence here. So it made it where very difficult for me to go back into a 90s story and find it specifically. So they scrambled it. They absolutely did. And that shouldn't be going on because they're news stories that were already out in the public, right? So that's what I'm looking for mainly, is what the media put out at a time period, and looking for like the allegations. That was the initial thing, looking for the allegations that came out at that time. And then I re-brought up, that other story, and then those two duked it out, right? So I did a lot of those researches and trying to go back into them. And then some additionals were, comment section. I mean, at least I know where to look now. But if you were to try to search that way, you can't find it the way that I used to. And you should. So today, they're all on this whole thing of being as fake as you can be. Erase your history. Don't know how of a horrible person that I am, right? This thing with these people. And me, like, my perception of things like that is like, if I said something totally terrible, like in 1999, I'm going to confront it, and then we're just not going to do it again. I mean, it's really that simple. But these people are actually trying to hide major crimes. It's not, oh, I just said like the F word one time, or, anything like that. They're like legitimately trying to hide them raping somebody, or promoting rape on other people, or doing these type of criminal activities. Well, they hid a kid crime. So social media needs to be accountable for sitting there hiding a child crime. That is not something brought up into this thing. And it's not a debatable topic. So it's not a fake topic. It's not any of these things. The social media that was, well, it wasn't social media back then. These honchos owned websites and forums, right? And so they controlled what was going on in the forums. So they were doing this forever. So it's not, oh, today they just started doing all this crap. No, they hid a child crime. So what is the difference between the hosting company, the guy, CEO, whoever's doing it, any different than me going to a doctor's office and some doctor touches me and then the whole hospital hides it, right? Nothing. And so they're crossing into some territory here where it is a criminal act. that is a criminal act, and they should be held accountable to that, such as trying to hide gang member law enforcement. That's what Twitter did. You need to look at Jack for that. You need to look at Jack for that, because that was one of the main topics that I was bringing up, where I axed everybody out that would have even targeted me at this point, because I hadn't got into this other thing with these other people yet. And I was pulling up some of these news stories, and I was saying, yeah, we're in the middle of investigating this stuff, right? And it was here where they come in and do that, and then my cars got targeted, right? Same time. And I go, it's them. Because there was nobody else in the story at that minute, you know, what we were pulling up. And no, that's a criminal act. It's like covering up organized crime. Like they purposely did something in order to do that. And they were trying to justify all these different things. It was so crazy because I'd never been so targeted on that platform. I was, like I said, I was on there for like over a decade. And if anything, I brought people to it. And because nobody wanted to go on the platform. They wanted to be on Facebook, and people were just barely leaving MySpace. And then MySpace changed, and it was all shitty. And then I looked at Facebook, and then I complained about Facebook, and then I stayed on Twitter. So then nobody was there yet. It was like crickets. It was weird. Like I would go on there, and I was like, I'm just going to use it like a diary. Yeah, I was like on this thing. And then all of a sudden, some people started coming, and it was really interesting. And it wasn't until the celebrities came in where they destroyed the whole platform. Celebrities and these Christians destroyed the platform, honest to God. And because they started asking for censorship. And I go, okay, wait, this is going to be bad. Because they're going to be asking for their moral stance. Now, I have a different point of view on life, right? They have a different one. Theirs harms me. Mine doesn't harm them at all. Isn't that interesting? I don't know. There's a big difference, because what I'm asking for does not cross into anything that would harm them in their personal life or their income. The only people where it would harm their income is if they're rapists and they're harming themselves. That has nothing to do with anything that I did to, you know, any of that. But the men that are rapists want to sit there and control it so they don't lose their income for being a predator. So those were some of the bigger topics that was going on in the later portions. The intro to that was kind of bullshit, you know, like the very beginning, because I didn't know what, you know, it was just kind of craziness. And then I left it for like, I don't know, I closed the account down. I left it for like 6 months. And then I came back. So a lot of people don't realize that. Like I was on there for like 6 months straight, and I was doing this whole thing, and then I had enough of it. So then I leave it. And then I believe I started getting bullied around here by another artist. And I was like, I don't even know why though. I know why now. I think they're psychotic. But it was weird because like the whole time, like I was talking about all these people, like praising all these people, right? I was praising all these people. I was like, I love these people, and I love this person, and I love these people. Ever since that, you know, I was going on these stories, right? Of, yeah, being really positive about a lot of people, even though I had a problem with some of these people, okay? I had a problem with the DO camp. I really did. And it was, that was really difficult. So it took a lot of time for me to finally say something about it, even after the death. It's almost like you don't want to come out and start just trashing everybody. It just, my brain wouldn't let me do it. It just went, because I'm typically like a nice person. So I don't like running around going, oh, these people are a bunch of shit. You know, I have to now because they are. And because I didn't early on, I got so abused by all these people that this perception is completely wrong. And if you don't tackle those bullies right when it happens, they just keep bullying and bullying and bullying. They manipulate a story, and then all of a sudden you're like the devil in the room, and it's really them. And I could just stand back right now, and a lot of them look really bad right now. And I'm like, you know what? See, I don't have to do anything to them where it won't come back on them. It will, because people will eventually see the truth about them. The truth about me is that I'm just not a perfect human, but I'm not a terrible human. That's really the thing about it. And that these people took advantage of me, And a lot of these stories are from me when I was a teenager. So I'm like, they're taking advantage of a teenager. Like now it's a perspective story because it's like, I was like literally a teen here and these old men are sitting there ripping me off. You know, like you're going into this thing. And whereas I couldn't at the time when some of these things were initially coming out. But I just want to add that in there, just some additions to the story. But yeah, they're full of shit. I'm not for any of this because what they're asking at the end of the day is their point of view and to target me. That's it. That's all I hear and that's all I see and that's all the actions that have been going on. So yeah, no. Shove it up. Oh yeah, and then there was that thing with the Marilyn Manson thing, right? So the victim claimed that she was being raped in a video. YouTube just leaves it up. I'm just like, I would be very concerned. Okay, so here's the legalities to that. I would be very concerned if my company had that up and then it turns out to be true and then the lawsuits on this type of thing. How is it any different from human trafficking and then them putting videos up of some victim? Like I said, there is a story that we have that luckily it's not in the nature of that. But something I didn't consent to, and no, like people were trying to talk about the victim. Where was it? There was a story I pulled up not too long ago, where they were saying she didn't act differently. Oh, Rebel Wilson, right? Rebel. Okay, so Rebel. I was like, I related to that story so much because I was like, yeah, I mean, I just went with it. Like, what am I supposed to do? I already got paid, and then all of a sudden they throw out this thing on me in the middle of taping, and I was like, I would have never agreed to this. And so I didn't want to be rude to the other person because they're not in on the plot. They're just another person that they brought there. And I was like, wow, this asshole totally did that on purpose for his own personal bullshit. And then they did something additional after the fact. And I was like, I already took the money. Here's what my dilemma was in this. I already did a contract, but in the contract, it didn't say they were doing that. But I got paid and I had to go pay some people. So I had paid him out already with the money. And so I got kind of scared. The guy is like a multimillionaire. I don't know how much he's worth, but he had a lot of money. And I was like, I didn't want to cut it off right then and there because I was afraid that he was going to do something to me because he was being really terrible here. And, I had talked about this before. Like, actually, I've dragged him a million times. And I'm pissed off at my friend for this whole like thing of like he's going through a tough time and he needs some friends. I'm like, well, I'm not the friend to take advantage of, so he needs to get a fucking life. And then he profited off of me. I mean, what the fuck is that? Like, there was a setup on me here, and I'm pissed off about it. Really, at the end of the day, I am. And the whole thing was supposed to be because I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got a divorce. I don't fucking remember what the problem was with them. It's some rich guy having a pity party, right? How disgusting is this? He don't have any friends and he's a dick. And she's friends with him but doesn't want to deal with him because he's annoying. And so she's like, you know, he needs some friends. You want to hang out? Like, just hang out. And I'm just like, I'm hanging out with him. He's a jerk. He's telling me how horrible my hair color is. I'm like, I don't care. We're not dating. Fuck you. You know, this thing, right? And then he offered to do this thing. That's why I was like, well, I guess, you know, we could do that. Blah. I don't know. It was this thing and nothing else. But I was like, oh my God. So then I did the award thing, right? So he's like, I'll buy you what do you say? Oh, okay. I think he bought the fur coat and these shoe things, right? And then I did the music award thing. And then out of nowhere, I don't know, he was being such a dick in this portion. And then he disappears, right? I was like, I can't deal with him anymore. I think it was a mutual thing. I don't remember, but I was like, I can't deal with him anymore. I'm going to literally like lose my mind on this person. He's a psychotic. And so I was trying to figure out, like, I don't think there's anything I could have done about it at the time. Like, I don't know. I don't have the copy of the legal agreement because I don't believe they gave it to me. Typically when I do legal agreements for any type of entertainment, any weird thing like that, I get documents and I have to keep documents if I do that, right? So, I don't believe he ever gave it to me. And so I can't argue that I signed something that would allow, I don't believe I did because I didn't even know I didn't even know the person that was there. I never met them. I never knew anything about them. And at random, they throw this other person in this thing. And they're just mid taping. And I was like, I can't stop. So I just pretended like I just, I did improv. So I improv the rest of it, but I'd never seen it. I had never actually witnessed the whole thing that they did. And so I would assume that I look really bizarre. Because I remember looking at this while they were doing it, and I was kind of like, oh no. And then I was trying to ignore that they were even present. That's how bad this was. But I didn't want to seem mean to that person. Like I said, there's another party involved. And I was like, I don't want to make them feel like they're the problem, like there's something wrong with them. But there was something wrong with this whole thing. And that followed me around for a long time. And I was like, there's nothing, I can't get it removed. I can't do anything. And then they put my business thing associated with it. And I was like, no, no, that's not the way I want to be presented. And that's not something that I would okay. And it just happened. And it was just like one of those things. And I was like, I am never doing this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore with these people because, um, no, I mean, I just so unpredictable. Like, you couldn't really foresee it happening. But some people say that they would just run out of the room. I go, no, I was already paid and I was really scared that he's going to go, give me the money back or something. And I'm like, I don't have it now, I was like, this thing. So I was like, I don't want any lawsuit. I don't want, you know what I mean? Because it could turn into this thing. And no, and that's the Hummer guy. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, no, no, so I'm a victim in that actually. But it's not in the way that these other, like her story would. I mean, it was probably pretty more similar to the Sasha story, yeah. Where it's just like this random thing happens, and you're just like, we didn't talk about that. But this was mid taping. It wasn't on the side like before they started taping. It was like they just started taping, and it was almost like out of thin air. Like this thing started happening, and I was like, no. But you just couldn't. I rolled with it and then acted like nothing was wrong, and I was totally fuming pissed.